Mark Rutte described it as a lonely fight. Never before has a Dutch Prime Minister been so heavily criticized at a European summit.
I don't care. I'm working hard for the interests of Dutch citizens, which are closely linked to European interests. All those comments, I'll just ignore them. I can't be distracted by them. I see myself as someone who fights for you and other Dutch citizens, and for that it's important that there is a strong Europe that can overcome this crisis.
The Dutch Prime Minister is leading a group called the Frugal Four, also consisting of Sweden, Denmark and Austria, who want strict conditions for financial support to poorer European nations, struggling with the economic fallout of COVID-19. And Mark Rutte is playing hardball.
Because there is no United Kingdom in the negotiations. In previous years, the Dutch could always work together with the Brits, and the Brits would take the lead, I would say, sort of against France and Germany. There is no UK now, so Rutte has to do it all by himself.
With parliamentary elections next year and a growing number of Eurosceptics among the electorate, Mark Rutte could be hoping his stubbornness in Brussels wins him votes at home. At the negotiations in Brussels, the Dutch have been called stingy, but many here don't see that as an insult. They are proud to be tough negotiators and get as much as they can as cheap as possible, like here at the market. Most in the Netherlands still support the European Union, but increasingly many here feel that Dutch taxpayers are paying too much. Distrust of EU spending has grown in the Netherlands since the last financial crisis in 2008 and the large bailout package for Greece. Another source of resentment here is the early retirement age in southern European countries compared to the Netherlands.
The thing with the Dutch is that the Dutch are very outspoken and very direct, and so is Mr. Rutte, I think. But his point is a fair and good point. And we are one of the founders of the European Union. We believe strongly in the European Union. But if the European Union does not in itself finds a way to modernize and be a more useful, less spending organization, it will go, it will keep having these problems and these discussions. Name calling, nobody cares.
I think it's good that we give the southern European countries money, but I understand Mark Rutte very well, that he wants strict conditions. I support him, but I find it troubling that we are now being seen as the hardliners within Europe. I don't really like that, but I understand why they see us this way.
While the talks have been tough and long in Brussels, Prime Minister Rutte may end up gaining at home for his hard-nosed approach. Vaessen, Al Jazeera, Amsterdam.
Karel Lanu is with us now, CEO of the CEPS Centre for European Policy Studies. He's on Skype from Brussels. Maybe just as we've been listening to that report about the Netherlands, do you think that the Dutch Prime Minister has anything to answer to there, that he has caused any problems, unnecessary or otherwise?
I mean, if you see that the summit is now lasting already 4 days, they started on Friday, they still haven't come to a conclusion. Although the Council President has an hour ago said that he circulated a compromise. But I think he may be overdoing it. There has been a lot of reaction against the Dutch, above all from the point of view, let's say, that they have this arrogant attitude, let's say, like they are better than all the rest. But also, let's say, that the Netherlands, what is very well known, is basically a tax haven. There are many, for example, from Portugal, many companies from Portugal which are based in the Netherlands, which have their holding company in the Netherlands, just because the tax regime is much more lenient than it is in Portugal. And this is not only for Portuguese, it happens also for Italian, for French, or also for Spanish companies, and also for others from the United States, for example. So the Dutch are taking an attitude which basically is not entirely justified. On the other hand, of course, they represent a bit of a view, not only from the Netherlands, where you see the conservative right, but also the extreme right, certain groups in the Netherlands which are against the EU, but also from Austria, from Sweden, from Denmark, which do not want the EU to take this huge step forward. Basically, you have to know, let's say, what is on the table now is doubling of the budget. We have about a budget only of 1% of GDP for the EU to basically distribute amongst the member states. This would bring it to 2% of GDP. And the big advantage would be like for countries like Spain and Italy, which have got a big hit. And don't forget that Spain may go down with 12% of GDP. If Spain has to borrow the money itself on the markets, it will be much more expensive than if the EU does it itself. I mean, the EU can, with a AAA status, borrow money on the market for almost nothing. Whereas if Spain were to do it, its spreads will increase and the cost will be much higher.
Carol, I
in
wonder,
addition, we have seen...
Sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry?
I wonder if we risk losing sight of the central issue at the moment. Everything in the last 4 days has been these bigger discussions about the Europe project, about the sides, about the different viewpoints. But really, this is about fighting coronavirus, about helping countries recover from that. Surely this should be the time when the European Union could find that unity.
Indeed, but I think in the end, I hope that there will be a compromise. But I'm a bit concerned, let's say, that Rutte is exaggerating, is dragging on for too long. Let's say 4 days. Imagine that Merkel has to sit there to agree on a compromise, or that Macron has to sit there to agree on a compromise. And on top of that, we have seen there was no solidarity, certainly in the beginning of the corona crisis, from Belgium, from the Netherlands, with, for example, Italy. And this is the least we can do at this stage.
Karel, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. Karel Lanu joining us from Brussels today.
Thank you very much.